welcome everybody. This is the first kickoff meeting of the Pyrsia General Community Meeting. So I've been dropping the meeting, the link to the doc into the chat. If you don't have it, let me know and I'll drop it again. And if you need access, please go to the link for the Google Groups. We have Sahinder, maybe could jump over the Google Groups and approve people as they come in. That would be great.
Yeah,
But basically the way we've set up the organization of the shared docs in the Google Drive is everything is controlled through the Google Groups. And that includes like the shared calendar for invites, any documentation that we put out there goes in the folder that everybody gets to see, which is makes it easy to manage. So if you have anybody that is on your team, or if you know folks that are interested, please go ahead and send out the Google group and we'll get them approved and out here. So like I said, Steven's going to do a quick welcome presentation here. But before that, I'm just kind of go over the meeting format. None of this is set in stone. This is just what I've used with other open source projects. So like Tecton, Ortelius, the CD events. So basically, the goal today is just to get people informed of what we're doing with Pyrsia as a project. And as part of that, we would just want to kind of give a quick highlight after Steven does the welcome, just some of the some of the pieces that we're working on, the networking and those type of things. Also, we have some architecture and some other meetings that are going to be coming up next week. Feel free to go ahead and add anything to the agenda. This is totally free form, and any action items or old action items that we need to take care of. Now, on some of the other meetings I've been on from other groups, they'll have a person like a secretary person that kind of takes the meeting minutes. We'll eventually evolve into that, but for now, we'll just kind of have this agenda. And what you'll see is this kind of evolves over time as we get the hang of things. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to pass it over to Steven to go ahead and kind of give us a welcome presentation.
Well, thanks a lot, Steve. And welcome everybody to the first Pyrsia community meeting. And what I thought would be a good way to get us kicked off is just to do a quick intro about the project, the Pyrsia project, what it is, what the goals of the project are to level set. So this is a shortened version of what we went over at the Linux Foundation Member Summit. It should only take about 15 minutes for me to go through this. So if folks already know about this information, apologies for recapping, but I think this kind of gets us all level set with the same base of information about the project. And then we can go into how to get involved in the project, a little bit about what the current state of things. And I also have a few things which we need help with from the from OpenSSF. So this is going to be assistance from you, David. Okay, so just to kick things off, so the reason we chose the name Pyrsia for the project is that this dates back to an ancient communication system used in Greece, where they communicated long distance over mountaintops using torches. And they would have two sets of 5 torches and then use this in a grid of the Greek alphabet. And this is one of the first long-range communication systems. And we think about this in terms of how folks communicate and work with binaries, in that we need a better way in open source projects of communicating across the supply chain, which is distributed, which is secure, and we're trying to solve these problems for the larger ecosystem. So I think this is a great way of kind of tying in a historical reference with something which is a modern day solution to open source supply chain issues. And a lot of the open source communities which we're trying to help improve have challenges, which we've seen in the news and we've seen in other areas where we have a security research team at JFrog. There was recently a whole bunch of other things discovered, like some recent packages in npm which had malicious versions updated. And basically the goal here is to improve both the level of support and stability, and also the level of quality of upstream dependencies, which all of our open source projects depend upon, because we're all using pip installs, go gets, maven fetch. And Dan Lorenc put it very nicely that this is basically the equivalent of plugging a thumb drive you found off the sidewalk and then using that to code against. So I think creating some automated, some easy to implement solutions that address a variety of different package management communities is the high level goal of what we want to accomplish by creating a decentralized package registry. So no single company, no single entity owns it. It's owned by a group of companies. So it's great that we're joining the OpenSSF and Linux Foundation, because this gives us the ability to get a wide set of companies involved in this effort. Peer-to-peer package downloads. We want to make it easy for you to get your packages from anywhere, from multiple different central repositories or central nodes, from different internal services which your company may provide, and also from the developer sitting next to you, or from other open source projects or universities who are providing downloads. So we want to make it as easy as possible for you to get and reliable as possible to get package downloads, because every time a large central repository goes down, it's basically a denial of service against the entire software industry. And the last thing, and I think one of the most important value added features of this project, is building out multi-node verification of source builds. So we can have the same packages built on multiple nodes, verify them against each other, and then this way we give packages with a very, very high level of trust to the end consumer. And when you put this all together, we're building a network which is more secure, more reliable, and entirely open. So you have a trusted package registry which you can go to for all of your needs. The basic architecture is that whether you're a developer, whether you're somebody running a server, or whether you're somebody running a trusted package registry, you can participate in this network. You can share your binaries across the network. We'll have a transparency log, so you know everything you're getting is fully secure and validated by different parties. And where possible, multi-node verification of source builds, so you know that you're getting binaries which have the highest level of trust. We're working on consensus algorithms to make sure that folks in the network all agree on the right versions of it. They're building it, and they build consensus around trusted package registries. And also designing this so that we're building a transparency log on blockchain technology, so you can see all the transactions which go into it. And it's easy for you to know that the image you're fetching has been validated on the network. There's two levels of trust which we're going to offer. One is a reproducible builds trust model, where a quorum of trusted registries and nodes agree that this is the right version. And for languages and technologies where it's possible for us to do reproducible builds today, great. And of course, we want to incentivize the community to move towards doing more reproducible builds, because this solves a big gap between source and binaries in the supply chain. For languages and technologies where there's not currently reproducible builds, or open source projects where they're widely used and they don't have a reproducible build, we'll have trusted registries with one of the member companies from the Linux Foundation who are supporting this project, and they'll do builds for different package technologies where it makes sense for them. and then put out trusted packages for folks to download. And this will give you a reasonably high level of trust, but not as high as a reproducible build. And of course, we'll allow for full coordinates with domain verification as well. So you know that you can pull a package, you can get updated releases, and you're not getting compromised. The developer experience, we want to be as simple as possible. So this is kind of an example of what the experience would be for a JavaScript developer. And I think also this kind of shows the focus of the project, where we want it to be a developer first technology, where it's easy for you to install Pyrsia. It's easy for you to integrate and use it in your projects, and also very easy for you to publish new things to the Pyrsia network. Okay, and lastly, how to get involved in the Pyrsia project. So you've all taken the first step by showing up to our bi-weekly community meeting. So thanks everyone for joining us for this meeting. We have a very active GitHub repository. So if you go to github.com/Pyrsia, you can see all of the activity going on with the team, which is currently has members from 4 different organizations. So we have folks from JFrog contributing to the project. We have folks from Lajon. Johan Voss is here representing them, also contributing to the project. We have Deploy Hub. Steve Taylor is here from Deploy Hub, and he's helping us out with reviewing commits, adding code, and providing a lot of community focus behind this. And finally, we also have contributions from Docker, and Chris Crone is here representing Docker as well. So I think we have a lot of great activity happening on the project, and we're looking for more companies and more contributors to help us to build this out. I have a proposal document that's open for comment, and apparently I can't type. I missed the H on the proposal document. So let me reshare my screen. All right, now we have an H there. We have a Slack group, which is reasonably active. So I think this is a great way to communicate among all the folks here is go to the OpenSS Slack, hashtag Pyrsia Bootstrap. And finally, we have a mailing list, and you could be the first person to post to the mailing list. So we haven't been using the mailing list that much. I think we prefer Slack over the mailing list, but we'll start using the mailing list more as well. Okay, so that's a little bit about the project, about how to get more involved in it. And I didn't want to take too much time away from the community meeting, but any questions just at the high level goals of the project, how to get involved, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish. Now would be a good time to ask or chime in. And I think Steve's probably going to show us both either the document or the website.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephen, we'll also share the presentation you had, right? Because it has all the links. Let's just email that to everyone.
Yeah. So I just uploaded it to Google Drive, and I'll put that in the document.
Yeah, and I'll add it to the link to our community meeting document here. So just for the new folks here, just some of the high level components of the project, like Stephen was talking about. We have our peer-to-peer networking that we are building out. And one of the goals of the Pyrsia project is to reuse as much as we can instead of reinvent. So I believe that is the P2P, libp2p that we are currently working with. And then obviously we're going to be utilizing the blockchain pieces. The blockchain is interesting because it's going to be slightly different than a cryptocurrency blockchain because of the pieces of information that we need to store in the blockchain in order to do verification and trust. And then we have the big topic of identity. How do we know who's who in the world? And then the distributed files. How do we manage being able to pull things in through the Pyrsia network in an efficient way? Currently, BitTorrent is being investigated as part of that. And then finally, on my list. I may have missed something, but the plumbing, the whole DevOps world of how do we make things automated around the GitHub actions and those types of things. If there's anything I'm missing, please speak up. But these are like the high level components. If you're interested in any of these, please reach out and we'll be able to get you involved in any one of these as part of that process. So with that,
one thing I wanted to add is that we are the one goal we have is make it easily installable on any developer machine. So we are being very aggressive in the size of the binary and how it installs and all that user experience as well.
Yeah, and that ease of install kind of goes into the plumbing category of how we make the installation happen. Right now, the installation we're focusing on is around Ubuntu, but because most of our team uses Mac, I can see Mac installers coming, OS X installers coming right behind that pretty quickly. Just to give you a heads up, so this meeting that we're having right now is going to happen bi-weekly. So in 2 weeks, we'll have another community meeting. Next week, we will have the architecture group meeting. I believe that's on Wednesday. I'd have to check the dates, but there's a shared calendar off of the Pyrsia.io website. So if we go over to events, you'll see the meeting calendar here, and you'll be able to, let's see when they are. So Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time is the architecture meeting. And then the outreach meeting is going to be on Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So the goal of the architecture working group is kind of talk about any of these topics. It's not going to necessarily be a deep dive into solving day-to-day issues, but kind of give a direction of where we're heading, the overall issues or goals that we're trying to solve. Will be discussed at the architecture working group. Basically, it's going to be a way for you to dive in and look under the hood for the networking, the blockchain, et cetera. And then on the Friday of next week is going to be the outreach and the marketing working group meeting. Some of those ideas that we've kind of been tossing around on the outreach side is an ambassador program and a mentorship program. How we can get the use of Pyrsia out to the developer community, how we can reach those folks. And then on the mentorship side is how can we help people understand and kind of teach people more about blockchain, for example. It can be a very complicated subject and we're going through a lot of pains and we want to share what we've learned with everybody. So that's going to be another focus that we've been looking at. Also, we have daily stand-ups. We have not published these yet out as a part of the calendar. We're still going through some growing pains with moving meetings from one Zoom account to the next Zoom account and shared calendars and stuff like that. But keep an eye out on the shared calendar for when the daily stand-ups are. Have I missed anything that anybody wants to cover?
It's not so much cover, but it might be useful to bring in Brian Bellendorf, who's not only the executive director on OpenSSF, but he used to lead the Hyperledger folks. So I'm sure that he has some experiences on blockchain identity and so on. I do have some questions about the use of BitTorrent, because I'm wondering if that really is going to conflict with the make it easy to install goal, but maybe that's a separate discussion for another day.
We have about 8 minutes left. This meeting runs about is scheduled for a half hour. So if there's nothing else, I don't mind diving into some of those decisions.
Okay. Yeah. So I think on the on the OpenSSF calendar, we got an hour block for this.
Yes, it was posted out on the OpenSSF incorrectly.
Yeah, on the Pyrsia community calendar, it's half an hour, but I think this is our first meeting. If folks can stay on a little bit longer, I think we can probably use more than half an hour.
Yeah, but I understand if people have only committed to a half hour, I don't want to. How's this? I've raised it. We can discuss it another time.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a bunch of architectural gap discussions. We're having a meeting tomorrow to discuss it.
Cool.
One of those is blockchain, or use of blockchain in the project. So maybe Brian would be somebody good to add to that meeting. And
it can't be tomorrow, but he and I are doing the White House meeting.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So we are totally overwhelmed right now.
We'll find a time Brian can meet and
awesome.
Go through it with him. I think also for blockchain, so kind of the way we're approaching the project, and this is kind of the way I like to put it is, so when we kicked off the project, we all talked about our first computers. And my first computer was a VIC-20, but I did most of my hacking on one of those little Mac 512K enhanced ones, the ones people now use as doorstops. Needless to say, the hard drive wasn't very reliable. And I was hacking on a grade editor for my teachers in middle school, and lost 3 months worth of work.
Ooh.
Just with the hard drive failure. Now that said, I started from scratch and I rewrote it, and it only took me a couple of weeks. The code was cleaner. It solved the problem much more succinctly. And I think with this project, like everything else, we're trying a lot of experiments with blockchain, with BitTorrent, with other technologies to get things to work, to show quick progress, to have things we can demo and make progress with. And we should also be ready to throw them away and to re-architect and design the solution which actually is going to best serve the developer community going forward. So we're trying a bunch of things in the team. We have a very active GitHub and project team, and we're doing a bunch of different experiments now. I think we're going to converge, as Steve was putting, on a bunch of different big blocks, which will fit together into a solution which we can then push out as an MVP. And just in terms of timing, we're roughly looking at trying to have a demo available in the coming months, and then have an MVP in the at the end of Q2, so May-ish timeframe. So we would like to get something in people's hands as soon as possible that they can actually use, that solves at least one supply chain ecosystem use case. And the first one we're thinking of targeting is specifically Docker and containers, because that's such a large ecosystem, and also one which has the biggest distribution challenges.
And just to let you know, like I said, we're going through some growing pains. So like the demo script that Steven's talking about, it's there. We're in the process of getting a documentation site up and running so we can get this stuff shared. So it's easier to find. Things like onboarding folks into the project, we're working on that as well to make things like through the GitHub teams and stuff like that a little more seamless. So I would say, David, for that discussion around the BitTorrent and blockchain, that Brian and yourself join us next week on the architecture meeting, and we can dive into those topics if you're able to join to those.
That's the 18th, 1 p.m. Eastern.
I believe so.
Yeah, I've got a conflict on that one. Drat.
So move your conflict.
Yeah, that's a standing Alpha Omega meeting also. So I may have to beg either them or you to, can you change that, because I want to participate, but I can't be in two places at once.
And the other thing that I just saw come through on my email is if you go to the Pyrsia website, that there is Ask an Expert, and we've thrown a couple calendar invites out there for time slots to get on folks' calendars. And we've done that to help with this, kind of alleviate this problem where people can't attend meetings. They want to get some more details. And with that, we can get the right people in the room on these one-off meetings to discuss topics. And obviously, being transparent, we'll record those and get those posted over to YouTube with meeting minutes.
I appreciate that. I'd much rather participate though than hear about than watch the recording.
Okay, actually, I want to get back to one of the items which we need help with. So we launched the website and Twitter handle and a whole bunch of things. And one of the things we ran into is there's some usage of Pyrsia on Twitter and other places where it's basically inactive handles. If we do the trademark, we can then make a request for those handles. So what's the best way of doing this? Of course, I can get the JFrog legal team to assist with the trademark, and then we could transfer it to LF later, or we could start the conversation with just getting you guys to own and do the trademarks.
I guess I mean you can do what you want, but what I would suggest is start talking with Brian and Jen specifically. You've got their emails, I assume.
Okay.
Because if we have to do the Texas two-step, it might be simpler just to do it once. That's not always it's not always the simplest though. So I don't know the answer to that question, but
okay, I'll start with Brian
do
and
the
Jen,
quick investigation both ways
and ask them.
Talk to them.
This isn't something which is like super time critical, so I think we have time to go through the process to do it the right way and to get it through the Linux Foundation process. But before we started building up technical debt on trademarks and stuff,
right? Yeah,
I figured
because I believe there's a fee. There are fees in transferring and such. So registering the transfer, I'm not certain that that's true because I'm not a lawyer. But let's investigate before we do one or the other, so that we do it the easy way.
And then one thing I noticed was the OpenSSF TAC was canceled yesterday.
Yes.
So I think the next one's the 24th or the 28th.
Yeah, my sincere apologies for that. I think some of you already know there's this huge White House meeting tomorrow, and it turns out that a whole bunch of people who are supposed to be involved in the TAC are suddenly getting yanked into preps for this meeting, and so basically there weren't enough people at the store.
Right.
So please be patient.
I think that was fine, and Ryan did a good job of informing that the meeting would probably be canceled. I sent an email update on our project to the TAC just to kind of cover what we're doing, the progress we're making, and I think I'll raise it with Ryan again, but it might make sense for us to do a quick update just to the TAC members on the progress we're making, and we may even be ready to give a short demo as well of some of the things we're working on.
I think that'd be awesome, and really, given how many people were distracted, I think for you it's actually better to delay so that people aren't so people can actually show up for one thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it kind of one of the things that we're kind of dealing with right now is we're 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the OpenSSF. And just knowing the logistics on the OpenSSF tax side, on the vote and things like that, and what they need from us to make a decision about us joining officially under the OpenSSF, that would be great to understand.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, basically, well, I think we've already talked about this earlier, but if you join under a working group, it's the working group approved, and if it's joining as a sibling, then the TAC needs to directly approve. Funding is a different issue, but usually the TAC looks at it. Hey, does that make sense? In the end, the governing board makes the final money decisions, but they want to have they don't want to spend money on something that's actually a terrible idea. So they usually ask the TAC to, hey, does this make sense?
Yeah, right. I think for development and involvement, we have really good contributions and funding from the companies who are involved. Where we'll probably need some board funding, and we can approach this maybe in Q2 with the board, is around setting up an official OpenSSF instance of Pyrsia, which would require some infrastructure and DevOps costs. Maybe also like Chris's team would be the right team to assist with that sort of thing. I think that also is probably good timing, because I was looking through the requirements to essentially become a working group. So it doesn't apply 100%, but like what they're looking for is like running meetings. I think it was like 6 meetings, and like documenting, recording the progress going on. I think since we're a technical project, we have additional things which we're doing, creating source repositories, pull requests, getting different companies involved to actually commit code. So we're doing all of those things in addition. And I think what I'd like to do is keep the TAC updated on the progress we're making and what we're doing. And when the time's right, maybe sometime in February, we can propose to become an official incubating project, or whatever the next step is.
Yeah, and I think it would make sense to at least start raising that sooner. I mean, you guys are no secret, but it would be. I think it's better to start having that conversation. We don't need to. But pushing it off forever doesn't help. So I don't think that's a super rush, but I think having those conversations sooner rather than later is a good thing.
Yeah, and Josh asked a question in chat, so I wanted to make sure we didn't.
Fundamental question.
Yeah.
Define its own package format. Oh, okay.
So Josh is wondering if we plan to build our own package format, or to support existing package types and register those in the network. So definitely the latter. The goal of Pyrsia is to be as seamless as possible for people using existing languages and technologies. So, for example, in the case of Docker, we've been going back and forth on this, but we kind of need 2 strategies. One is how we can make Pyrsia work with existing Docker clients, make it easy to pull Docker images through the network using essentially mirrors or proxies or other technologies which allow us to tap into existing polls. Going forward, we want to make sure that the new notary format supports the ability to pull from other content sources in Pyrsia, and that future revisions of Kubernetes and Docker clients will allow those sort of polls. So I think the goal is to be as seamless as possible for current developer workflows on all the technologies we support, and then to help to do better, deeper integrations to make it easier for architecturally for folks to use our technology going forward. Does that answer your question, Josh?
Yes, thank you. That was very helpful.
Okay, and thanks very much for joining the meeting. Appreciate you coming out to our very first meeting.
Awesome.
Okay, and then what did you say, Steve?
There's
the website going down. Yeah, we will fix that.
Yeah, there's part of the process right now. We wanted to get this meeting going, like you said, David, to get as much information out there earlier than later. And one of the things that we're working on standing up is a documentation website that gives us a idea for folks like how to become a member of the organization through a Git commit and a PR. How to install Pyrsia, just some general networking information. I mean, an architecture diagram about how its network works together. Those type of things are in flight, and so just bear with us, in other words.
Okay, so I think the goal was to kind of have an initial introduction to the project, to kind of have a discussion with folks about how they could contribute. We'll show folks how they can contribute, kind of open up different channels for communication. I think just to keep in the interest of time, because we originally set this as a half an hour meeting on the Pyrsia community calendar. Does anyone else have any questions? This would be a good time to ask them, or discussion points they want to raise. And then we'll probably close the meeting in the next 5 minutes. Does that sound good, Steve?
Yep.
Okay, and welcome, Yodam. Sorry you missed the initial presentation and some of the discussion, but we have the presentation in the shared doc, which Steve just put in the, or Sudhindra just put in the chat. And also we're happy to kind of have you introduce yourself or take questions you have.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. It's just a bit of a problematic time in my time zone. But yeah, I'll catch up with the presentation in the document. I'm leading vulnerability research for a startup called Brazilian from Israel.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, I think one of the big companies sponsoring this project is JFrog, and as you know, we have a big presence in Israel.
Yeah. And Yotam, if you missed it, go through the recording once we post it, and feel free to reach us out via Pyrsia.io or the email group. And if you want to start contributing, let us know. We'll add you to all places. Yeah.
Yeah. So the things that we've set up are like the YouTube channel. Like I said, we're in this weird phase. We'll probably switch over to the OpenSSF YouTube channel and have a couple playlists for Pyrsia. So some of the links that I've posted or they're in the documentation about the YouTube channel may switch. So it looks like some of that will be under the OpenSSF process. YouTube channel is a playlist there. So like Stephen was saying, this is our first kickoff. So we're getting our feet underneath us for this one. So anybody else have any other questions? Again, next week will be the architecture and outreach. And also one of the things that we know as a new community is people are not going to flock to us. So, all of a sudden they hear Pyrsia and we're going to have hundreds of contributors. But please go ahead and reach out to folks that you know that may be interested and pass the word around.
For communication, can you just tell me the preferred way to ask questions for help getting started and things like that?
I think the easiest way right now is to start with the OpenSSF Slack. So it's, if you're on the Slack, it's hashtag Pyrsia Bootstrap. And that's been pretty active. I think we are answering questions quickly there. There also is a Pyrsia Bootstrap email list as well, so I think we're on that as well, but the Slack I'd say is quicker response time in general.
Awesome, thanks.
And then also, if you're not getting what you're looking for, the easiest is also just open an issue under the Pyrsia/Pyrsia GitHub org repo. Just open an issue there, and everybody that's contributing will get notified. So that's another alternative. No issue is a bad issue. Alrighty, anything else from anybody? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you everybody for joining today, and keep in touch.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.